Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Pixel Focus Podcast, where we provide insights and updates into the world of virtual photography. We are on YouTube and all podcast platforms, so if you missed the live stream, you can always catch us up on the past episodes. For our returning listeners, or just if you're new, welcome to Pixel Focus. I'm in 7, and my co-host Sun OG is with me, and just to change it up a little bit, Sun, what is a win that happened to you this week?
Oh, a win. Okay. That is a change up. All right. Yeah. So see, I wasn't even expecting that. So well, I got hit up about oh dang, I can't even talk about that. That's crazy.
Are we going to get some insight into this?
I mean, I would, but I can't because I promised I wouldn't. So if we're talking a win, I guess I slept well. I got some stuff done for. Oh yeah, I'm about to start school, guys. I'm about to go to school for
Ooh.
advertising and graphic design, so that's cool.
Hey, nice.
So yeah, I enrolled in my classes this week, so I'm super excited about that. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess yeah, that's a pretty good win. How about you?
I've been researching for the past 2 or 3 days, and I'm actually going to be jumping into the world of 3D printing.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was funny. I was talking to Nash. I was like, okay, so hear me out. You know, all that Christmas money I was getting and saving up for the past few years? She's like, yeah. I'm going to go into 3D printing. He's like, well, that's obvious. I was like, what is that supposed to be? He's just like, well, you've been into content creating and you've been upgrading your PC and all that, and it just seems like a logical step. I was like, man, she's already ahead of me. What's going on with that?
Crazy. But she's always like 3 steps ahead of you, though.
Yeah.
Like, every time.
Yep. So she was unfazed when I said I'm going into the 3D printing world, and she's just like, cool. Continue. It's like, all right.
Yeah. No, that's classic Nash for sure.
And for those who are new to the show, Nash is the one who's my wife, but also has been helping us behind the scenes on getting Pixel Focus off the ground on pretty much on day one, and she's helped with the graphic design work. So you might, for those who have been returning listeners, you may definitely know her name. We are planning on getting her on the show at some point. But yeah, it's just a matter of when.
No, most definitely, we got to get her on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win. I think that's a win. I think we had pretty good wins this week. We're doing well.
So, any news this week that's happened?
Besides us still being broke and not having any kind of advertisement or promotions from anybody, no. So currently we are still in the mode of being broke. One day we'll not be able to say that. One day we'll not be able to say that. But currently, yeah, we got 0 in our banks, Brendan. Like, it's really bad. It's okay though. We're gonna make it. Anyway, no more sadness. So, to introduce our guest today, actually, first of all, hold up. Let me go ahead and get this ready because I need to make sure, because I know that N7 got on me about it for a long time. So I actually wrote an introduction in 7, so let's go.
Ooh, okay. Let's go.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so on today's episode, we have the man, the myth, the VP legend, Mick, also known as the Fourth Focus, ladies and gentlemen. Give an applause. I know that we can't necessarily hear your applause because you're not on with us, but I hear it in spirit. It's all good. All right. And then also, Mick here is a well-known VP, blogger, and also creator and host of the beloved VP Awards, which has been in partnership with the likes of Gorilla, Ubisoft, Flickr, and more. Welcome to the Pixel Focus podcast, Mick.
Wow. I wasn't expecting.
Right? So
It's
good,
like
right?
I've been brought into a boxing ring or something.
Exactly. It's great.
Thanks for
In
that,
the
yeah.
corner, we have the Fourth Focus.
Who am I up against? You know.
I hope not us. Honestly, I don't think I got that many accolades. I'm gonna be real with you. No, but definitely, we are definitely super excited to have you on, man. It's been we were talking a bit ago, and we were like, dude, honestly, probably like top 5 people we definitely want to get the Fourth Focus on here. So, nah, it's pretty dope.
Mhm.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Good to be back on some sort of podcast anyway. So
Right? Yeah, because you have the Unplugged podcast, right?
yeah, so we did just over a year on that,
Mhm.
and then I guess it was coming. The last episode I think we did was just before New Year's, like end of 23,
Mhm.
and then we both had a few commitments that were getting in the way early January, but then I think we were due to do one end of January, start of Feb, and Ruben got onto me and says, "Oh, I think our hiatus might go on a bit longer than we expected."
Mm.
So essentially, his circumstances have changed, and he's unable to
Right.
do it right now.
Mhm.
And it's that's so far that's been where it's just sat. So I don't know. I
Gotcha.
don't know what's happening with that yet, but here I am instead.
That's fair. That's fair. You think that you'll continue it by yourself at some point, if things don't change?
If I'm doing it by myself, I'll probably move it to my own channel. If I was doing a separate one, I probably would. Because when I started that podcast, I didn't have my own YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
now that I do, I would probably incorporate in that. That's if I was to start a different direction. I
Gotcha.
don't know. I've no real plans either way yet. I'm just waiting to see what we can
That's
do.
fair.
Well, you
Yeah.
definitely had the podcast voice. I can definitely hear it in my.
Oh, good.
Right?
Thanks.
I was like, "Yep, we got a fellow podcaster here. This is amazing."
Sure.
A decent mic helps as well, you know.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
it's
I still
funny,
gotta get
like
one too.
so I'm from northwest of England. I was brought up in
Mhm.
East Lancashire, and most of my life I've lived so I live like North Lancs now in Lancaster, and even around here, people are like, "Where are you from?" Because my accent's just subtly different to the local ones, you know.
Right.
So I often get people like, "I can't quite place where you're from."
Oh man, that must kind of suck considering the fact that you're from there, right?
I know it doesn't bother me. I actually quite like the fact that it means my accent hasn't changed, and
Hey.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. No, I can say I definitely get that because military family over here, so kind of everywhere. Um, so a lot of people definitely don't know where I'm from either.
Yeah,
So when I tell
America somewhere
them,
anyway.
right, exactly. You have a different accent every state you move to. So
That's what's in Europe. I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate that the sheer size of the US.
Mhm.
It's the states are like countries basically.
Yep.
The size of easily the European countries and more, aren't they? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's freaking huge. But yeah, well, we might as well go ahead and get right into it. I know that people came for VP stuff. I know that you guys are probably like, why are they talking about VP? We're getting to it, okay?
We're just
Getting
warming
to it.
up. We're just warming
Right,
up.
exactly. We're warming up. All right, but yeah, no. So, all right, topic today. We're gonna be talking everybody about VP copyrights and ownerships situations regarding us with our VPN, how what we do own and what we don't own, kind of discussing a little bit about um, how we can actually protect our virtual photography from people trying to steal our work and things of that sort. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So, first things first, I just wanted to actually bring up just what ownerships do we have regarding our photos? I know that you had actually written an article about this uh for everybody to see because I read it. Geez, when was the first time I read it? It was like probably last year sometime. I didn't even know that it was you who wrote it, which is really funny. But yeah, no, I had read it, and you really touched on a lot of points, and one of those things being like user generated content. So I kind of want to know just from you what things do we actually own in regards to our VP?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure when I wrote that. It was probably around
September 2020.
2020. Was it right? Okay, yeah.
I have the article up right now for those who are watching live.
Yeah, God, that's gone quickly. So, I mean, the approach to it, because I'm actually a research scientist by day, so it's pretty natural for me to kind of gather information and package it in a route for some other people to understand. So this was something I wanted to understand myself, first of all. And you're right, like the user-generated content angle is an interesting one, but I don't think that is necessarily the best approach to describe this. I would say in-game photography kind of is a form of user-generated content. You'll probably find that there's tighter, more specific, I should say, controls on UGC, which is determined by the license for the particular software. So if you take, I mean, I remember in the article there's a picture of Little Big Planet in there because I thought it was applicable. That's obviously user-generated content,
Right.
but the content never leaves the game. So that's a difference to what we're doing. You know, you take the pictures, they're outside the game then. So it's not really UGC within the game, which is typically what user-generated content means. It's something that remains in that game. So that's a different level of complexity.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think then to simplify it really, where virtual photography, in-game photography, screenshot art, whatever you want to call it, where that kind of best falls into the copyright world is as a form of photography. So there's a very well established, I don't actually know without reading it up again, but the Berne Convention is an international protection law, you know, a remit, if you will, like that's been put out there to give creators and artists protection over the pieces the works that they create. And there was something in there that says that defines photography, or it's a very cool line in it. It's like kind of legal speak, but it's like any works expressed by a process analogous to photography.
Oh yeah, that's definitely super fancy speak.
It is super fancy speak, but if you break it down, you think, right, what is? So that's because otherwise you get people to say, but technically that doesn't cover this because this isn't the same as photography. But a line like that makes it kind of an umbrella. Do you know what I mean? Sort of to cover similar techniques. So would you say virtual photography is a process that's analogous to photography? I would definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So by that line alone, the Berne Convention covers virtual photography.
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy to think that it was back as far as 1886. It says.
Yeah. No, that was
last amended was 1979. It's like, okay, so this was an issue way back when.
Yeah, and I guess that would that be relating like that far back? I don't know if you really looked into it that deep, but would that be relating to maybe things like just regular artwork, like people actually painting and everything, or is it purely just photography?
No, the Berne Convention covers all types of art. So
all types of art,
literally everything. It lists various different things that kind of are covered. And I was looking through what it says about photography as an art form, and the fact that it kind of covers these analogous processes brings us straight under that. So there's good news in that it means that international law is protecting you and giving you copyright over your original keyword over your original compositions.
Right.
So. Yeah, it doesn't mean any screenshot, because if you just screenshot the game as it's running, or the best example is as a cutscene, if you've just got a cinematic running and you take a picture of it with no input, it's not original.
Oh
you
man, ooh, he said the controversial thing.
Oh, it's not controversial. It's a matter of fact.
So what you're saying, if I take a screenshot of the cutscene 1 second after someone else, that's not my original work?
Nope. That's crazy.
No, because in the same way that if you take painting and you photocopy it, it's not an original picture; it's a
Mhm.
Right.
copy. So
That's true.
this is what the term. So there's the various. I guess we can chat about them, but there's various levels of intellectual property, and the one that's most applicable to us is copyright. Now, copyright quite literally means the right to produce copies.
Yeah.
That's what the word is.
Okay.
So if you own the copyright, you are able to produce copies and to use them as you see fit. If you don't own the copyright, you don't have permission to do that, and you need to seek consent. So if I was to take a photograph of a photograph, now that could get a bit grey, because if the photograph's a small element, then the new picture could command its own copyright. But if it's just a close-up framed by, like literally frame the same photograph, that would be a copy. So I would get anything original on the second one.
Right.
Gotcha. What we do with a photo mode gives us original composition, and that automatically, you don't need to seek like permission from the developer, from the publisher, anything. If it's an original composition, you have copyright. That image, that original image, is yours because the compositional input was yours.
Right.
If it's of a cutscene, the image is not yours. You're making a copy of the cutscene artist's work. The cutscene artist, well, the publisher actually owns that copyright, and you don't.
Yeah, and they're the one, because they're the ones who originally did the composition for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that totally makes sense. And honestly, with you having said that last part, I know that a lot of people then would probably question, okay, so then what about people, well, not necessarily people, but publishers or developers using our content? So I do know that I read a little further, and I also went a little bit into my own research, but I do know that they do have, while they don't have the right to necessarily use our photos without consent from us, I know that a lot of times there's, considering the user agreements that we agree to before we start playing the game, there's a bunch of things that can umbrella and start kind of diverging us from being able to say, hey, you didn't ask for my consent, because, obviously it's fine print. Nobody's ever read the fine print. We all know that. Just kind of like those parts in there. I know in your article you had mentioned that Square Enix, I believe, had actually in their users license agreement that that they are able to use our virtual photos without having any consent from us, right?
So you'll notice this from a lot of the Japanese studios, and that article was written very much from sort of a UK perspective with a broad international umbrella. But hopefully I did say somewhere in there that it doesn't mean that it necessarily applies to your local regions, because local laws can be different. I don't know the intricacies of Japanese copyright law, but it would appear that they've got at least a different approach to it, because how many times do we see a photo mode from a Japanese studio that puts the little copyright Square Enix or copyright Capcom, even Polyphony Digital? They're the only PlayStation studio that does it. Copyright Polyphony Digital goes on the bottom of Gran Turismo shots. Now, I wholly disagree with that, because yes, if it's a screenshot of the game or of a cutscene, it's their copyright.
Right.
But when it's had an original artistic input, which virtual photography, in-game photography is, I disagree. I think that we own the copyright there.
Okay.
And I've fought for that many times and won. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's what's up. So basically, I mean, and just like you said, it depends on local law and everything. So I guess in your case, you winning on that front in regards to any legal matters would, you know, apply to what you have in the UK, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, Now I know that the US, uh, uh, we we have things to protect. It's just, you know how the US can be. But um yeah, no, I mean that's good to know in regards to just people who might have issues in the future. Uh we definitely want them to understand that yes, you do have the copyright to any photos that you make as long as you are the original composer of
Mhm.
that particular photo. That's a great thing for them to know. So I'm definitely glad that we cleared that up a bit.
Yeah, the real tough area on this at the minute, with you mentioning the studios and the publishers,
Hmm.
most of them are really respectful.
Hmm.
Some will even sort of DM you and say, "Do you mind if we use this on our channels?"
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
invariably, people say, "Yeah, sure," as long as it's
Right.
credited. It should always be credited.
Hmm.
Um, Most of them, if they don't ask, they will at least credit whose work it was, and that's
Hmm.
acceptable. If you
Yeah.
can't, because sometimes you don't know whose work it was specifically, but you can credit the source and do your best effort if you are using an image elsewhere.
Right. Right.
The one that I really have an issue with is Hello Games for No Man's Sky. I think
Mm.
Mm.
his approach is absolutely unacceptable. Not only because
Mm.
he takes people's shots and reposts them on Twitter, X, whatever,
Hmm.
with no credit, but they get used in the game as well. Like
Oh
they're used
wow.
as
Oh.
loading screens in the game. Others have done that. Codemasters did that. They sought permission, and they credited it in the game. No Man's Sky, they're just taken. And
So they're being used commercially without consent too?
precisely, yeah.
That's
Now,
crazy.
I honest to God, I think people should, but people seem to like it. Like, yes, well, thanks for sharing.
Nah,
Thank you.
nah. That's not
No,
okay.
it isn't, and you're actually doing everybody else a disservice by allowing that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Every single time everyone thanks him for sharing their picture without credit,
You just
you're undermining
feel
everyone
for the
else.
fire. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And now you're making
Disapprove.
it to where now you're making it to where everybody, all the other developers, maybe not, will instantly think that, but you at least lay the groundwork for them to be like, oh, well, we could just do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's terrible.
absolutely. I think that would be a harder challenge if you put a copyright claim in against the creator of the game. That would be a
Right.
harder one to fight the case for. But in
Hmm.
theory, you should still win that. Don't think that's ever happened as of yet.
Oh,
But
well, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, considering what you were just mentioning, nobody has thought to do so. So,
um,
yeah, no, it's unfortunate. But at least, hey, that does kind of lean into this part. So, what about like commercial use? I know that we don't necessarily have the right to do that, right?
so for using your own images commercially, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the complexity there, you have
Hmm.
full ownership of the copyright.
Okay.
To me, there's no doubt on that. But
Right.
you have zero ownership of the other IPs that are included.
Correct.
So
Uh,
IP is intellectual property. So you might
right.
take the character. So you've got Spider-Man there as your avatar. Spider-Man is not your. Well, Spider-Man's a
Right.
particularly
Right.
complicated one, isn't it?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of
the
owned by a few
game, or
people.
if it's a film, or if it's the comics.
Mm.
Yeah. Sony own the films, Marvel own the games, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but no matter how good your picture is, you never own Spider-Man. So in order to commercialize it, you need all of the IP owners to be in agreement,
Oh man,
or for
that's
you
wild.
to own all of the IP.
Mhm.
Now, in
Yeah.
theory, it's doable. We could, in theory, take our shots, go to Marvel, go to, say God of War, we go to Santa Monica,
Hmm.
and say, I want to monetize this. Can I get a licensing agreement? And
Okay.
that's possible. But that kind of thing doesn't kick in at, 10, £100. You're talking 5-figure sums before
Right.
it's even worth it. As in, your licensing would cost you 5-figure sums before you got the permission to start
Hmm.
using that. So nobody is in a position to start thinking about that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's unlikely, I'm not saying that you should do this, but it's unlikely at that small scale, if you said that I'm going to sell 10 prints at £5 each or whatever, the publisher's not going to come and take you to court over that.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to go under the radar, isn't it? So
yeah.
while you're small, yeah, you could get away with some little things, but that would be in contravention to the law. And in theory, if you, let's say you did it and it took off and became really successful, if you started
Yeah.
making money and then got attention of the lawyers,
Right.
it's not the people like the community managers that are going to come and get you here. It's the legal departments, and they don't care who you are. They're all about protection, legal, everything, and in theory, you could be taken back over everything that you've sold, and they could take commission retrospectively. So I think you can probably likely get fined as well. I don't actually know all of the legal terms. But yeah, that's the complexity as to why we can't really commercialize selling the shots as they are, like as in just to sell it as prints, because you don't own the IP.
Gotcha. Yeah, that kind of sucks because I mean, of course, everybody would love to be able to just go ahead and sell, but just like you said, if we got to the point where it was doing really well, which considering the level of talent that this community has, I could easily see being done. Yeah, no, it does suck that, most of the time these people don't have the means to go to these monolithic freaking companies and be like, hey, can I sell this? And then you got to pay $20,000, $50,000 just to be able to do. No, no,
Yeah.
no. I don't think people have that on deck.
Well, I certainly don't.
Right.
And yeah, I mean that information there does come from conversations with developers and publishers, so it's not a random pie in the sky figure. It's a real one. I think you could probably also make a case that if you did it as a very positive project, you see some of these fan art projects, there's some books and what have you. They usually avoid virtual photography because of this reason, whereas they can use drawings because there's that sort of extra degree of separation there. That's it's not that virtual photography will never be allowed like this. It's kind of that there's not enough precedence yet, and a lot of the publishers don't necessarily want to be the first one to say, "Yeah, go for it. You can use them." They're also a little bit cagey on that.
Yeah.
But I think with the right project and someone with the right sort of goodwill, something will happen where it opens it up a little bit more. At least I hope so.
So you think it's more of a matter of time?
I think so. It's a matter of time and it's a matter of scale.
Gotcha.
If you go in with a small project, I think you've got a good chance. If you go in with something saying, right, I've got this multi-million-dollar idea that's crazy, then they're going to want a part of that.
Yeah, no, they definitely want. Yeah, I think that would be a good business decision on there, right?
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But if it was worth it, and then I'd do the deal,
Right. Oh man. Yeah, no, and then actually, also I wanted to go ahead and ask as well. I know that a lot of people considering, honestly, we all have multi-million dollar art if I'm concerned. But because of that, a lot of people are going to look at that and be like, "Oh, I could use that for myself." So, obviously there are people that we have all experienced probably in some form or fashion, especially for the VPs out there, possibly something being stolen or just kind of, again, not given credit on some form of photo. But definitely I want to just go ahead and ask, what are some things we could actually do in order to make sure that that doesn't happen? I know one thing I see a lot of people do is watermark their art. So they'll, create a little graphic that kind of personalized to them, and then they'll put it somewhere on their art just so that everybody understands, like, okay, this person is the one who created this photograph. So, yeah, what are some different ways that and also in Seven, if you know of any just different forms that we can use to uh protect what we do? I just kind of want to ask both of you guys that. So we'll start with our guests, but yeah, I just want to go ahead and ask both of you. Oh,
Yeah, Mike, you can go first. I'll go in second.
Am I still there? Right.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
cut
Yeah,
out
you're
a
good.
little bit. I thought I was disconnected for a
Yeah,
second.
you're good.
So the last I heard is about how to prevent sort of your work being stolen, what you can do
Yeah.
about it, and watermarking. So watermarking is an interesting one. I don't think there's any detriment to watermarking apart from the fact that it takes your extra time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It isn't necessary though. I'll be clear on that. You don't need to watermark in order to claim ownership. It's
Right.
not necessary. It can help. So, like you said, it can help to identify your image. It can primarily help to other people to see that it's your image, and they might come and let you know, oh, hey, I've seen one of your shots because they've identified the watermark. In legal terms, it's not necessary whatsoever.
Right.
Does it prevent theft? I would say no.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Simple reason, like if people really want to steal your work, they're going to steal it no matter what.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's very easy to remove a watermark these days, even more so than it used to be. Photoshop's tools now for the smart healing removal tools are just kind of one click. Whereas, you used to maybe have to go through the clone brush. Would that be worth the effort? People maybe look elsewhere, but now it's really easy. And if you make it so difficult, then you're probably ruining your image.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, if you're creating the artwork, do you want to spoil your artwork? I always think a good way is to use a watermark that actually adds to the presentation, that's sort of part of a frame and stuff like that. Whereas if you're just plastering it across the image, then I think you're doing
like the white crosses,
Right.
over the pictures. Like, well, can't quite
Right.
see the picture itself.
Yeah, exactly. We're just gonna plaster our name like literally from one corner to the other corner of the photo. You know what I mean? Just make sure it's across the whole thing.
That probably would work. You wouldn't get
Right.
many images stolen, but it would also look shit many times. So yeah, watermarking is a personal choice. If you want to do it as a style, then go ahead. But if you feel that you need it to protect your images, you don't. So if you essentially all you do need is some sort of proof of prior ownership. Now,
Okay.
in the circumstance that we're talking, people stealing images, it automatically means that you've already posted it before them, hence why they've stolen it.
Right.
So simply being able to refer back to a predated post and make a case that okay, I've missed a bit, I guess. If you do see that your image has been stolen and posted on another account, that's the most common thing.
Yeah.
On, let's say, Instagram or X, you can go and submit a copyright claim against that post. Yeah. And part of the form there, you will be asked to say, what is the content? Who is the copyright owner? So it's then you. And you might have to give a case as to why it is that you are the copyright owner. So I always use the stuff we talked about earlier, saying virtual photography is a form of photography. This is original art, commands its own copyright as dictated by the Berne Convention, whatever year, 1889. And at that point, they'll also ask for evidence of your ownership. So that goes back to your original post or a website or whatever it is. And that just goes off, and the platform typically assesses it within a day and then gets back to you saying, we've removed the infringing article. And that's it. You move on.
Cool.
It's really easy. There's every platform should have this kind of copyright reporting method, a site, a page, or whatever. Etsy, I had a nice story about one that I submitted a copyright claim against the thing on
Oh.
Etsy.
Oh wow.
If you want the story on this one, yeah.
I mean, in 7, I feel like
Go
it's a
on.
good story, probably.
It is a good story. So what happened was a creator. So my cousin, it was actually my cousin's girlfriend at the time, wanted to get some drawings made of some God of War pictures for my cousin, and she asked if she could use a couple of my in-game photos as reference for these 2 God of War drawings. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So she went to this creator on Etsy and had these 2 pieces commissioned. They paid for the originals. That's perfectly fine. By the way, you might be thinking, how is this allowed if that's sort of monetizing the in-game capture? 1, it was a second derivative art, and 2, they were paying for her time, not for the ownership of the image.
Okay.
So, the complexities again. You can pay for the time, you can pay for the artist to work, but you can't pay to own the image.
Huh.
So that was key, by the way. So they paid her to make these drawings, not a problem.
Right.
And a little while after, they noticed that she was starting to sell prints of the drawings. And they were like, they felt a little bit annoyed that they thought they paid for the one-off. And I was like, okay, but it's typical for artists to sell an original painting and to sell print. That's normal because they own the painting. But I got in touch and I said, look, I don't think we can do this. 1, it's the drawings were basically a tracing. They were really fantastic drawings.
Okay.
I'm not doubting the artistic skill that went into the drawings.
Right.
But they were a 1-to-1 replica. And I said,
yeah,
it's a copy, I'm afraid, which means actually it's my copyright and I can't monetize it. So therefore, neither can you. And
right.
they were like, yeah, but it takes me so many hours to do these drawings. I said, yeah, but if I take Lord of the Rings, buy the book, and if I write it out in calligraphy, it's still Lord of the Rings. It doesn't make it my own novel.
Yeah.
No, that's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much went into the copy, it's a copy. So that went on, and they decided they were going to try and keep selling these copies anyway. So I thought, fair enough, I'm going to put a copyright claim against you, which I did.
Why? And if you want to go this route, we're fighting.
On Etsy, Etsy's quite strict on this, where if you get so many claims, your shop gets closed down.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't that I did it spitefully. I gave plenty of warning. We had the discussion.
Oh yeah,
went ahead anyway. So I did that, put the claim in. At which point, she sent something to me, blocked me on socials.
Okay, man.
Of course, yeah. That's
but ironically, the very day after or the day before, whichever it was a post from them complaining that someone had used one of their pieces of art, one of their drawings, to get a tattoo. And they're like, this is outrageous. Wow. This is my work. And I thought, karma,
How the turntables, bro. How the turntables.
So, yeah, those pieces got removed because, again, that just shows even though it was a derivative piece, it was still deemed a copy. I held the copyright and you could have the piece removed. So you've got the power.
Okay, well, people, just to let you know, pay attention. Go check out your local law, but for the most part, yes, you do have the right to your photos. So just argue that, make sure that if you ever end up in that situation, hopefully you'll never end up in the same situation that Mick just explained, because that is insane. But no, seriously, guys, go ahead, make sure that you just understand, yes, I do have the rights to these. Go ahead and take any kind of screenshots that you may need to from an original post or anything like that. It won't be as scary as you may think. And I think that's a lot of times what people have issues with, is that since they don't really deal with legal matters most of the time, they're very afraid of, like, okay, what if they don't believe me? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that everybody should understand, is that yes, you do have the right to your photos regardless of what anybody says. Now We also actually, you know what? Before I even get into this other part, N7, I know you got some questions, sir.
More just following up on what you wanted to get mixed perspective and then my perspective. So I just
Yeah,
want to follow on that.
please do.
Listening to this has been really fun and interesting. I'm just putting a lot of information back in my head. I personally believe, from coming from a video side of content creation versus
Hmm.
photos,
Hmm.
personally, I feel that if you're a video content creator, you have a lot more work than just a photographer, because you
Mm,
have editing, you have voiceover, as well as the game. While for photos, you just have just a photo itself. So that's, you're missing two more steps in video
right.
content creation. And uh, yes, YouTube has a policy. I get notified when it says, "Hey, there's someone else using like either the same tag or something." Go double check that, which is cool. But at the same time, I think it's much harder to have your own imprint, because there's so many ways. You can have a checkbox on YouTube that says don't allow embedding, but people can still download
Mm,
your videos, edit
yeah,
things out. And yeah, my
claim
son,
that
you told me
there.
about how there were some, you heard some people having people copying their pictures and posting as their own. I think video
Mhm.
editors have it worse.
Oh, really?
So yeah, especially with the new AI coming out, where you
Yeah,
can
that's true.
literally, especially streamers, they're in big
Mhm.
danger because they stream for 3 hours. So the AI just needs that 3 hours to get the cadence down of the user. And so then someone
Oh
has a
man,
audio imprint of that user, and then they just use
right.
it as their own.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you can't really record any vocals on on a photograph.
Yeah. So it has been interesting hearing how that side, I know that's a little bit of a tangent, videos versus
No, no, no.
photography, but that's my perspective, is that, wow, videos, in my opinion, have a little bit more harder time trying to make sure that is their own content versus being copied by someone else, you know?
Right. So it's not as simple as like, we just kind of understand our photos. We can't, people can't just take them and claim it as theirs because
Mm-hmm.
there's probably not enough out there to really, you know, turn it into somebody else's other than
Right.
maybe like just completely altering the photo to the point where you can't even recognize that it's the past one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Mm,
Yeah, that's
man.
an interesting one with video actually. And the other side of it that's not just content creation is in terms of journalism. So you get
Mm-hmm.
B-roll footage provided with review copies of games, and
Hmm.
there's very strict guidelines on what you can and cannot do with that. Um, so let's say I'm provided with a review, a press kit,
Hmm.
and there might be several minutes of B-roll footage, but there's specific rules say you cannot post it as is. You
Right.
cannot play this video end to end. You can use up. Sometimes it limits specifically how many seconds or minutes can be used. Usually not, but either way, it is available for use sort of as an editorial um, content, not as just as to reshare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess like if I was to take someone's YouTube video, I could do so if it was done in an editorial context and I was talking about their video and about their channel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have heard not too long ago, I think I was watching a YouTube video about that because I was seeing somebody basically say like, no, this isn't necessary, like because of the fact that they pretty much cited that this is from that person or whatever. um and they're using it, and they prefaced it with this is for educational purposes, yada yada yada. They can't really get hit with that.
It depends how.
So
If you just went,
mhm.
this is for education purposes, and then literally played their video instead of
Right.
yours,
That'd be
then
crazy.
no.
That'd be wild. No, I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
all types of content creation should be aware of protecting their work, and don't be afraid to challenge it. Um,
Hmm.
you know, you we were thinking of image versus video, but it's not necessarily always a distinction. I've had images used in YouTube videos.
Okay.
And if that happens to you, then how to address it sometimes comes down to take the context into mind. If you see a YouTuber that's used some of your shots, get in touch with them, ask to be credited, because you could retrospectively add credits in the info. If you think that they're doing it disrespectfully and that they're monetizing the channel, get it pulled. That's what I do. But
Yeah.
if you can reach an amicable sort of relationship first, it's sometimes worth it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I think forming a relationship with whoever it is that's asking to use your content, and then also, of course, regardless, having them ask for consent is a good thing for sure. Of course, everybody who's posting on social media, okay, maybe almost everybody. Uh, Most people would like to grow their accounts, yada yada, get some kind of recognition. So, you know, um putting themselves out there in regards to maybe a YouTuber or whoever um, that may be on a larger scale than what they currently have is always something big for whoever that creator is. But, you know, that doesn't negate the fact that you should always make sure that you are protecting your work. Don't let these big flashing lights make you think that you shouldn't be looking out for what you have. Yeah, I definitely can agree there. And then also let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our guest. Let's talk about you, Mick. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about some of your stuff regarding your website and everything, and the VP awards and everything like that. We did mention that at the beginning. So for those who may have just tuned in, again, we are with the Fourth Focus, the creator of the VP awards, and we're gonna go ahead and ask him real quick. So regarding your VP, I just want to know what kind of got you into it.
It was kind of just, I mean, I've been into photography for a long time,
Hmm.
and this goes way back to, so my degree, my first degree was in forensic science, and as
Hmm.
part of that, we did crime scene investigation, including crime scene photography. So I did a lot of, that was my first real introduction to photography for a purpose, if you know what I mean. So I'd had cameras when I was younger, but it's just the usual holiday
Right.
snap type stuff.
Right.
And crime scene photography taught me quite a lot, you know, about finding details of a scene,
Hmm.
um, certain techniques. So a road traffic accident at night was really interesting. So you'd have a camera with an open shutter, and you could go around with a flash gun and illuminate different areas
Right.
to create the whole shot. And that sort of thing just got me fascinated. I was like, wow, there's so many different avenues and sort of methods in photography.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've got quite interested in macro, again, in the details. Alongside that, I've just always been a gamer. And then
Okay.
things, like I used to enjoy playing Killzone 2 and just standing and watching the smoke. It's like, wow, the volumetric smoke is amazing. But
Right. Right. Right.
I never thought about doing anything about it then. It wasn't like, wish I could take pictures of this. And then photo modes kind of came along. And you're like, oh my God,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, I can do the two things I'm interested in at the same
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Um, but even early photo mods, like I remember checking out the one in Gran Turismo, and because GT4, I think, was the first sort of consumer level photo mode in 2004,
Hmm.
way ahead of its time. But even Wipeout HD on PS3, I was doing, messing around with that, but I never actually saved the shots. I just used it
Hmm.
to look at things.
Oh, okay.
You know, because there was nothing that, I don't know. I never put the two things together to have a reason to keep the shots. The internet wasn't a thing like it is now. There was no
Right.
social media, and
Oh, be careful,
no,
Mick.
it
You're
just,
dating yourself.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Where do you think the wisdom comes from? No. But yeah, it was. probably like most people, was when things like, well, the PS4, you got the share button, and all of a sudden that made an obvious route to getting hold of these shots and something to do with them. And then more and more games keep coming with photo modes.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, this is something I'm doing. That's something I can get quite good at, you know. So it just really grew from there. That kind of combination of interests. Really.
Okay. Oh, and we got a comment from Jack here saying the most morbid introduction to virtual photography.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, blood spatter. But the thing is, if you think about it, a lot of the stuff that people shoot in games is combat, is violence, is you know.
We have a whole section
bodies
for action shots, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think virtual photography sort of struggles to give power to shots like that because you know it's not real. Whereas if you see like war correspondence, it's incredibly powerful. That's one thing that virtual photography will probably never achieve, just because you know it's not real.
Right, because it's fake. Yeah, that's true.
But it doesn't mean it can be any less expressive. You can really express an emotion and a story in your shots, and things like that certainly do.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say for sure I have seen quite a few photos that have expressed many different feelings. Sometimes ones that make me queasy, but also some that make me cry. So I guess those could kind of go hand in hand sometimes, you know. But but yeah, no, I mean, virtual photographers are something else, honestly. They're very multi-talented a lot of times. And actually, considering that, let's go ahead and talk about the VP Awards a little bit. So you, Mick, the Fourth Focus, are the creator and host of the Virtual Photography Awards. So before we even get into that, just I guess congratulations. We're definitely applauding you on that, because how long has it been going on for now?
So I've done 4 of them, I think.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. 4 years. Wow.
The first one came about very quickly, and I was actually planning it to. I thought I'd do it for the year after, and I started messing about, and all of a sudden, I spent 2 weeks of messing around with Blender and seeing what I could come up with. And you know, when you sometimes get to that moment where you go, that's a kind of a key piece that I can work with that, and I came up with enough that I just thought, you know what, why wait till next year? Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
And then I went ahead and did it, and I've not really looked back since. It's it's grown, it's done well. People enjoy it. I love seeing people looking forward to it and like telling me, "Oh, I'm really struggling to choose my shot for this year." Yeah, I love that. It's one of the reasons why the submissions are limited to 1 per category, because it's a bit of self-reflection. It's the first level of judging, actually. Yeah, I could easily increase the numbers by saying submit as many shots as you want. But it's not about the numbers. This is about the art. This is about the quality that is there in the talent that is there in the virtual photography space, and also trying to get this recognized as a wider art form. Back in the day, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, you would have probably quite often encountered people say it's just a screenshot. You're trying to just simplify and undermine it, and I think there's a much better understanding now. You don't really get that sort of disrespect, if you will, quite the same now. People understand it a lot more. But do the higher art forms understand it? Not necessarily. So, you know, having talked with photography institutes, one of the things that really sticks with me, I was told by a guy, and he said, 1 picture doesn't impress me. Now, this is at the time when I was trying to get support for the awards, and I'm like showing, I said, look, here's last year's winners. Aren't they fantastic? Thinking that was a really strong case to get this work on show somewhere. Yeah, 1 picture doesn't interest me. Anyone can take 1 good picture. I mean, wow, I never thought like that.
Right.
And that's kind of currently where a lot of virtual photography is. You're taking pictures for the moment and to share.
Oh, hello.
Yep. Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh no.
Oh man, hold on.
All right.
Hey Mick, are you there?
Things.
Oh, there we go.
So-
There we go.
Oh, did I lose you then?
Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, I don't know how much you missed then in that case. So I was just saying.
No. I think the last thing that we heard was that basically one photo doesn't necessarily impress them, and that's pretty much where we're at as a virtual photography community.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I think a lot of it is done just for the photos for the moment, and not quite enough as an expression of their wider work and a wider body of work. That's
Right.
something I'd like to get towards.
Okay.
But the awards, the first step towards that is promoting quality and
Right.
sort of the breadth of quality that is out there. That's a large objective behind that for now, at least.
So it's kind of like baby steps, right? Just kind of.
It's always the case. Every artist grows. You never stop growing as an artist. And no matter how good you think you currently are, if you come in 2 years' time, you look back, you'll be like, wow, I was not as good as I thought I was.
Yeah.
To grow the art space, you've got to give people time to come with it. Otherwise, they don't necessarily understand the reason why you've gone in a certain direction. So,
yeah, and the VP awards kind of allow for everybody to actually. I personally believe that the VP awards really allows for you to kind of look back that way, because honestly, when when I was so I've only been here about a year. By the way, everybody, April 8th was my 1 year anniversary for being on socials. Shameless plug, but
claps in the chat.
But no, so when I first came around and everything, I saw the VP awards, I saw that everybody was talking about it, and I was actually kind of just looking to see about what came before. And I checked out some of the past few years, and I was like, oh wow, okay, so kind of like this is the level that's expected almost if you're gonna be, one of the winners of one of the categories. So it's cool to kind of see that.
Hopefully it's mostly an inspiration to people rather than putting anybody off as well.
Yeah.
I never want people to look at those shots and go, oh well, I'm never going to do that, so I won't bother. And similarly, there's some assumptions. I get a lot of feedback, as you can imagine. Everybody has an opinion, and I like to hear them, but often they only see part of the picture. So I get told, why is it all PC shots? Well, it's not. It isn't. I try to. I don't try to. Well, I actually have no input in what the winners are going to be. It's the judging panel. But I try to identify if there is an inherent bias like that. So I look back and I thought, right, let's see. And I counted up, and actually, in the year just gone, it was actually slightly in favor of console shots. So for people to think, I won't win if I don't have an NVIDIA 4090. Not true. Absolutely not true.
Right.
Good art is not about resolution. It's not about pixel quality. It's about an expression within the image.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some shots from, it was like a old console, right? That was submitted, if I remember correctly. Right?
You mean, what do you mean by old console? You mean like PS4 or something?
Yeah, or just like you said that they did have an intrinsic photo mode, but it was a unique game. And when we did our episode 1.
I know there was a SpongeBob game that got submitted.
Oh yeah,
I saw
that.
That was probably on PC actually, but yes, SpongeBob's on the Switch, I think, as well. But I mean, one of my favorite winners, I think it's from 2 years ago now, is the black and white shot from Ghost of Tsushima. It's taken on a standard PS4. It's only in 1080p, I think, if I remember, and it's the one of
Yeah.
just the black and white hands holding the cup. Love that shot. Absolutely adore that shot. And that's just a perfect example of it's about the image and not the quality.
Right.
Well, the judges are there to give a breadth of. I don't want it to be my opinion. I don't want the awards to show which shots I like the best, because there's no point. You know, I've got my own preferred style. I like a cinematic view. I like, you know, the offset, the horizontal composition, but not everybody does, and I don't want the results to reflect that. So I've got judges from different fields. I've got real life photographers, because they understand different things about image composition. I've got game developers because they understand different things about the games. And I want all of those inputs together to ultimately give. You can never say this is the best shot, because art is subjective. What I think is the best shot is different to what you think is the best shot, and neither of us are wrong because it's your preference.
Right.
But if you take a lot of different educated preferences and points of view and put those together, then you've got a fairly good approximation of what is one of the best shots at the very least. You know,
Right.
If I got the same judges to vote again the next year on the same shots, you might get a different result because preferences change. You know, so there's no perfect solution to that, but that's at least what I try to do. Give it breadth.
Yeah, and I can totally see that, partly even because of the fact that you have different different subjects in regards to, like, so categories being action, portrait, like all those different types of photos. So that actually kind of goes into it too, because you can't really say, okay, this action shot is way better than this portrait shot, because they're different types of photos. They're not exactly the same type of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, even the detail, was it the detail shot this year? And it was that sort of isolated water boy. And I know a lot of people were like, "What? That's wrong. That's the wrong result." But detail doesn't have to mean close up. You know, this is a misconception. There's different ways of interpreting those topics, and I've kept the topics the same mostly. The couple have changed and evolved, but they've also been fairly fundamental topics for now, because I think that's the right stage for the art form. I don't think people are ready for more exploratory topics yet. On the whole, some people definitely will be, but on the whole, the broader market want to make it accessible for everyone to understand. And I think they're probably still the right kind of topics to go for. But yeah, like that winner put off a lot of people. They thought this is wrong. This should be an environment shot. But you could make an argument that if you take that boy out, the rest of that shot is completely uninteresting. And it's that one little detail that makes the shot interesting. Hence, it's a detail shot. You know, it's all about interpretation.
And the and you said the detail shot was which one was that again? I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember.
Like exactly. A water boy on
oh yeah. That was the one that Michi did, I think. I want to say you said it was from Alan Wake.
Think so.
Okay. Yeah, and it had kind of like way in the background through the mist. It had like trees, like a tree line. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was Michi. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that shot very well. Yeah. So no, I mean, you're completely right. Everybody has their different interpretations as to what each category may mean. And I think that I think it's really good that the Virtual Photography Awards reflects that. So that, you know, not everybody is kind of sitting there like, just like you said, oh, that's not what that means. No, that's what it meant to these people who were on the panel. So
exactly. And if it was just one person's opinion, then yes, you would have a case that you're wrong. But it was the collective opinion. So
yeah,
I loved seeing it as a winner, to be honest. All of the finalists, there's so many that you could easily pick as winners.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing I would like people to understand. It's not about being the winner. This is about a celebration of the art form. And if you want to see more from this art form, come and be a part of it. Come and experience that. It doesn't matter. Don't obsess over winning and losing. Take part, take inspiration from it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a super fun community gathering, in my opinion. I mean, I really think it's so cool, like
Yeah.
towards the end of the year, everybody's kind of like getting all, hype over it, and they're asking each other like, "Oh, what do you think that I should, use for this category?" And kind of, I mean, I know my group particularly that I hang out with, they all last year were kind of like, I think these are the ones I want to go with, kind of like, helping each other pick what to choose. It's cool.
Is a
Mm.
yeah community
Yeah.
activity.
Right. All your friends get to kind of come together and like think up and help each other out. And then if you see your friend, I mean, I have to even say I saw I believe three. I want to say at least no, I saw four VP friends that either got honorable mentions, which is a really cool thing that you added this year, by the way.
Mhm.
But honorable mentions, finalists, or actually won. Um, Two of those being actual winners, which so happy for you guys, Michi VP and Taka-san. Y'all are awesome. But yeah, no, I mean it's just so cool to see, like, even in this, like you said, with it just being something where we're celebrating the art form, to see even if you don't win or get into one of those positions, seeing maybe somebody get into that spot, you know?
Yeah, and on top of that, the work I do afterwards is I take all of this, all of the results, all of the fantastic shots, I take them, I put out a
Mhm.
press release, and I try to get this out in the media. And
Yeah.
first 3 years, very little, got 1 or 2 articles. And this year I've had like 4 or 5 follow-up articles. This has been on Digital Camera World. There's broader interests, and I'm trying to get it out for more people to see, because ultimately the more people that know about virtual photography, the more people get into virtual photography, the more the developers and the studios will invest in photo modes and in giving us the tools that we need. So,
And even us.
yeah, exactly. So everything is the better the art space does, the better it is for you who enjoys doing it. It makes perfect sense. So support at all of these kind of events that do it in a good way.
And that right there for y'all is an insight, because that's what we do here. We do insights and updates at Pixel Focus Podcast. That's what we do. But yeah, no, that's so awesome. And I love the fact that you're really doing everything that you can to just push the agenda of VP being recognized as an art form. That is absolutely incredible. We truly love that just from the community. I know that obviously not everybody is always going to be in favor of whatever decision a person makes, but I can definitely say from a lot of us, we are super happy that you're doing exactly what you're doing so far. So again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you as well. I'm glad that everybody enjoys it. I'll keep going, and hopefully someday get some sort of funding to take it a bit further.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
And Seven, I know you got some questions, bro. You've been quiet.
Sorry, been busy interacting with chat. Actually, they've been pretty active. But we do have a single question from Jack. He says, "What is your favorite VP community, and why is it TPM?"
You see, that would seem biased because I've contributed content to DPM. Jack. So, by the way, I'm glad Jack's here, because I'd like to remind him that this time last year is when we met in London. We actually met at London Games Festival.
Cool.
So he's probably quite glad that VP's not at the LGF this year, because he would probably have another fall and do his other leg in.
Yeah, he got a bum leg right now. That's right. Yeah, Jack, he broke both ways. No, I'm joking. I'm just playing.
Yeah, he's actually nasty. Yeah.
No, we definitely hope you heal up soon, bro.
Well, we do have another question actually that just came in. What games you guys recommend for VP?
Ooh, okay. Mick, you want to
Um,
start off?
yeah, I guess it depends on what level you want to come in at.
Mhm.
I've just played because I've just written a piece that's going to appear on the Epic Games blog this month.
Mm.
I've just written a piece about Chia, and
You
that
said
is
Chia?
in Chia, TCHIA.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's from, I think the studio's called Web, and they're from New Caledonia. The
Oh,
game's
wow.
sort of inspired by New Caledonia, these Pacific islands. Check
Mhm.
out Chia. The photo mode is just a sort of an in-game camera, but it's got a really cool feature. It's an in-game film camera, and you choose films,
Mm.
like different film stocks, as your filters. The catch being,
Mm.
like when film cameras were a real thing, well, they still are, but you don't see a preview of the result. So you don't know if you've got the right shot until you take it to the Photoshop and develop the film.
Oh,
And I love it. I
wow.
absolutely love it. It's really simple. As a photo mode, it's very basic, but it really helps you to think about getting the composition right and pre-planning what is the result going to be instead of just having infinite time and
Mhm.
like storage, whatever, to get as
Yeah.
many shots as you want. You've got 50 shots per roll, and
Mm.
you've got to get it right.
A lot.
So I'd try that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that honestly, I might even look into that. That's crazy. Um, if I had to go with one, ooh, honestly, I might actually say Tsushima.
Mm.
Um, just because it kind of has, I mean, it has a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's it's kind of a nice one to explore different things, and it's not limited really. So you can either, and I mean, it's already a gorgeous game. So even if you're not really too accustomed to a photo mode, you can still get really nice shots as long as you have, a good composition, right? Um, but if you decide to take it a step further, you don't have to go into another game just to do so. You can kind of start experimenting on that one, because they do have a lot of different things you can do. So from people who might be beginning, they can get really good shots just literally hitting the button for a screenshot, right? But then they can also go ahead and get into some of the other more intricate details when it comes to photo mode. So I guess I would say Tsushima.
Mhm.
Yeah, Tsushima's always been up there as one of the best.
Hmm.
In fact, the infamous photo mode was already excellent, but it was diabolical to use. Like
Oh,
the
really?
inputs were shockingly bad.
Oh.
Um, but their depth of field implementation was really good. Tsushima
Hmm.
takes it further. I love the weather control,
Oh, yeah.
um, and just the aesthetics of that game, because that's an important point. Like, there's no point having the greatest photo mode tools if you're not inspired
Yeah.
by the game itself. So,
Right.
which game to choose for virtual photography? The one that actually appeals to you to start with.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not going to be motivated and inspired by the content.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Insomniac's photo modes are, if you want to just go for the technological best, Insomniacs are probably up there. I really don't like their depth of field. Um,
Yeah. Definitely
the
heard
lighting,
your opinions on that.
I've voiced it before, I guess, yeah. um, but ultimately, the game that appeals to you is probably the best place to start.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on that too, for sure. Yeah. Do we have any other questions in seven?
Nope, those are it.
All right. Any you got?
I
Not
suppose.
really. Not
Okay.
from my end. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
It's
Well,
been fun. And for those who are listening afterwards or listening live, we are over the hour mark in case you are noticing. But it's just been a fun conversation. It's sort of like
yeah.
flowed and we're just gonna go. So
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully that was okay for you, Mike, that we went over an hour.
It's fine. Don't worry, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, I guess that kind of brings us to a close. I'm gonna do this last part in the most awkward way possible. No, I'm joking. I'm not gonna do it. No, definitely, I did want to say before we go ahead and close, Mick, we are so very grateful for you coming onto the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to do so. And also, we hope you had a really good time.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Where can
Awesome.
people find you?
Where can you find me? TheFourthFocus.com, probably the easiest place. Socials are all at The Fourth Focus, and I'm putting probably majority of my effort into the YouTube channel at the minute. So all of my blogs are mirrored on the YouTube. I'm actually writing them with YouTube in mind, and then going back and doing the blog, and I think, oh, it's easier to make it in video format now. But yeah, check out the website, check out the YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. And then also, do you have any other than that, do you have any final thoughts, Mick?
Oh, I never have final thoughts because it's just on to the next.
That's fair. No,
How
that's
about
totally
top
fair.
three? How about top three final thoughts? I guess. How's that?
What? Top three? I don't even know how to think. Okay, within context of what
30
we've
seconds,
done,
go.
keep creating, protect your work, and follow the podcast. Subscribe. There you go.
All right,
Very cool.
that's pretty good. And then also in 7, you got any final thoughts, sir?
No, just thanks again, Mick, for taking time out of your day, especially on the weekend, to come out and hang out with us on this episode. And it's been really fun. The reason I've been quiet, for those who've been wondering, is because I've been enjoying the conversation that Mick has been talking about all the. I'm just like, I don't want to interrupt because I don't want to break his flow and all that. It's been very fun listening to and just taking notes in the back of my head and all that. So
Nah, you ain't gonna do that next time that we get anybody on.
I mean, I did that with the last one.
Nope, I'm making sure of it next time.
We'll see.
Well, I have a couple final thoughts. Y'all already know what time it is. Get them necks working, bro. Y'all need to start doing these workouts for your necks. I promise you it's going to help. I know that all of you are posting on social media, so you need to stop turning your head so dang much to the side so you can get that right vertical and start getting in the gym, knocking that stuff out, bro. I know you're tired. I know that neck is tired. Get in there. All right, anyway, buff necks. We out. This has been Pixel Focus, insights and updates. Super happy that y'all came in. See ya.
Bye.
Right.